You know what sucks? When you film half of a video and then realize you didn't press record, so you're just talking to yourself. Yup, one of those days. Hey everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be comparing UK and US covers. So I did one of these videos last year, and honestly I think it is so fun to compare different editions of different books because I feel like it shows a lot about that culture, or like kind of what they think, what the publisher thinks will sell in that country based on what they redesign the cover as. Like some books they don't redesign at all, but some of them they redesign a million times. I do have a video planned where I'm going to be talking about all kinds of like international editions of covers. I'll be doing that not sure when, but I'm really excited for that because I have been like scouring the internet and looking at all the different editions for all of the books on my shelf. Like even for UK I had to narrow it down, but yeah. So I am the middleman. I'm Canadian, so I'm kind of in between the US and UK, so I have no preference. I do find though, just like aesthetically, I do prefer US covers generally, just because they're a little bit more artistic, a little more colorful, and that's kind of what I like. I don't know if that makes sense. You'll kind of get the hang of what I like as the video goes on. I find it interesting because a lot of people disagree with me on a lot of these, or at least they did for the last video, but I don't know, I think it's cool to see what kind of other people like artistically. Also, I do realize that a lot of times in the UK you guys get the US editions as well, but these are just kind of the ones that the publishers made specifically for the UK. Whether they end up selling them or not, I don't know. I'm not over there, so I'm just going by what it says on Goodreads and Book Depository and Amazon UK. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it. So I am probably going to be looking down a lot because my computer is there, and that's where I can see the UK editions of these books. So the first book is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This is the US edition, and then this is the UK edition. I feel like the UK one is taking more of a childish approach, and I find that that's the main difference with a lot of covers. They kind of dumb them down or make them seem more like romances or whatever. Like, I don't really know how I feel about the UK one. Like, I don't hate it, but I definitely prefer this one. But honestly, I'm not a huge fan of this cover. I do like the Owl Crate, the white edition, but this cover itself I find is kind of boring, and I wanted a little bit more from the cover. So I guess the UK one does give me more. I just don't think it gives me more in the way that I was hoping it would. Like, I wanted it to look like Wonderland, you know? I'm really picky about my Wonderland book covers, so I don't know, but I think I would go with the US for this one, just because the UK one I'm not really a huge fan of the font or kind of that drawing. Not a huge fan. Next up is Our Own Private Universe by Robin Talley. This is the US edition, and then that is the UK edition. This one I feel like this cover is a little bit more boring, like really simple. The title is really the focus of it, whereas the UK one, it's more like the title is still the focus. It just is more exciting. I definitely prefer the UK one for this one. I love the colors of it. I love the kind of starry scene, like anything with stars on it I just automatically love, and I just find that this one is a little bit boring. Like, it doesn't really do much for me. It's just a picture of the two girls, which doesn't really excite me. I kind of just prefer the UK one. Next up is The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson. This is the US edition, and then that is the UK edition right there. I don't know about this one because I do love the fact that, like, it's kind of like the illustration that's on the back of this one, or the picture that's on the back of this one rather, is on the UK cover. It's just kind of a different version of it. I love the fact that you can see all the little puppies. They are so cute. But in this one you can also see the puppies, and there's more puppies. So I feel like I prefer this one. I do actually like the font for this one a lot better. On the UK one you can hardly see where it says The Unexpected. You can just see everything. And you can hardly see Morgan Matson's name. This one you can really see all of that business, which I enjoy. I was covering her name, but it's on the bottom. And I like the fact that there's like an ice cream truck. I think that this one looks more like a cute, fun summer read. So for this one, I prefer the US edition. Next up is Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. This is the US edition, and then that is the UK edition. For this one, I do really like the UK edition. I think it's more symbolic. Well, not really more symbolic. It's more artistic, I would say. This one is more so a photograph, but I feel like this one captures the story in a single image, because just that like life preserver and how dark it is and the water and like turbulent waters, I feel like captures it more than the barbed wire turning into birds as far as like this story goes. Both of them do capture the story. I just think that this one gets it more. Like, it really kind of sends across the message that this whole book has. So based on actually having read the book, I picked the US edition, but if we're based on just aesthetic appeal, I would probably pick the UK edition. Next up is This Savage Song by V.E. Schwab. This is the US edition. That is the UK edition. This one is really no competition. 100% I prefer the US edition. I love the font. I love the background image with the violin and how it has like an actual image inside of it I can't even really tell. It looks like a back alley. So it has the violin and then an image inside of it. Whereas the UK one is just like this weird water flower thing with this Twilight-esque font, which I am just not a fan of at all. I think it makes it look like it's a really bad book and it's not. So definitely prefer the US edition. Next up is My Lady Jane by Brody Ashton, Cynthia Hand, and Jody Meadows. And this one is the US one. That one is the UK one. This one is very different because the UK one makes it seem like it's just kind of a quick, cheeky little read, which it is. So I don't really know what my preference is. Like, aesthetically, I like this one better. But the other one, I think, shows all the humor in it and how it is going to be a really funny story. Like, this one does have little quotes, like it says, "Off with her head, it's not easy being queen, sometimes history gets it all wrong," but it doesn't really give across that idea that it's going to be a really funny story, which it was. And I think that the UK edition does that a little bit better. So, I don't really know. I mean, I do like the fact that they actually have a depiction of, I think his name's Gideon. I can't really remember right now. Is it Gideon? Gifford. I knew it was G something. Gifford. I like the fact that they have a depiction of him as a horse. I think that's really funny, and I like how she looks kind of cartoonish, but I feel like I do prefer the color scheme on this one and how the title is like really the focus. The color scheme is just very interesting to me. Like, you don't really see this color, like these colors together, and it has a ferret on the side. So yeah, I prefer the US edition. Next up is Spindle by E.K. Johnston. This is the US edition, and that is the UK edition. This one is interesting because they actually changed the title of this one. So the UK edition is titled Kingdom of Sleep, whereas this one is Spindle. Not really sure why they did that. I don't know, but this one I also really like because it has stuff under the jacket, which is beautiful. I'm not sure about the UK edition as far as that goes, but I think really overall, font-wise and everything said and done, I prefer the US edition. The other one just kind of is a little bit boring, very simple, and I don't really like how the title is. Next up is The Wrath in the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. This one is tough. So this is the US edition, that is the UK edition. I really like the UK edition. I mean, I like this one, and I like the fact that it does have under the jacket, where is it? I thought I had something under, there it is. They have that there. I was very confused for a moment there. But I mean, the cover's cool. I like the whole concept of it, but the UK edition is beautiful. Like, I love, love, love the color scheme. I love how the face looks. Like, she just looks like a strong and powerful female character, and I think it really brings across the culture that this book is about, and I like how the font is the focus of it. I actually really prefer the UK edition for this one. Next up is actually a book that isn't even out yet, and that is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I have an arc of it, and I am actually currently reading it. Not liking it so far, but I'm only 60 pages in, so that could change. But this is the US edition. That is the UK edition. I definitely prefer the UK edition for this one. I don't really like the color scheme of this one, and I think it's boring, so it doesn't do much for me. I do like how the font is on this one, but I prefer the UK one overall. I like the color. I love the image of the, like, moth. I think it's a moth. The moth on there and how, like, intricate the drawing is in it. I just like how the background looks like space. I prefer that one. Next up is Truth Witch by Susan Dennard, and this is the US edition. That's the UK edition. This one's another tough one because I like both of them. They're basically the same illustration, just different, which, if that makes sense, like, it is the same thing because it's a girl with, like, a sword. Like, she has swords, right? Yeah, girl with sword, and, like, there's a wave. It's basically the same thing. I haven't read this book, so I can't really comment on it in terms of the content, but I don't know. I think I prefer this one, but when it comes to Wind Witch, I prefer the UK one. I like the colors and everything for the UK one better on Wind Witch. So yeah, that's what I'm going with. US for this one, UK for Wind Witch. And in case you're curious, here is Wind Witch the US edition, and there is Wind Witch the UK edition. So I prefer the UK. I don't know, I just like the colors better. Actually, overall for this one, I prefer the UK font. It's just the image on this one I like better. I don't know, I can't pick for this one. Next up is the 1000th Floor by Catherine McGee. This is the US edition, that is the UK edition. 100% prefer the US edition. That's kind of what drew me into this story actually, was this cover. I love the image of the, I believe it's supposed to kind of resemble a Chrysler building, and I love the font going across it, how there's kind of like flecks of gold. The other one is just like, the font isn't exciting to me. It's just an image of a girl and it's very yellow and green and just looking out a window. Like, there's nothing exciting about that, so I prefer this one, especially because the spine is beautiful. Next is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This is the US edition, that is the UK edition. The UK editions have like the color behind her. They have the same illustration and the same font. Like, everything is the same except for the fact that they're white in the background, and I definitely prefer the US editions, how they have the color all throughout the background for all of them. I think it's much more appealing, and I just get really bored by the other ones, so I'm not a fan. Next up is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. This is the US edition, that is the UK edition. I prefer the UK editions for this one actually because I feel like it reflects the story better. I love the fact that it's the door and the handprint with the books on the bottom. Like, I just think it really reflects the first moments really of the story and when the action begins. This one is just kind of a girl with mask, and it's kind of just boring to me, and meh. Not a fan. Next is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This is actually the UK edition. I lent out my US edition to a friend, so I don't have it, but that is the US edition. This one is hard because I love that this one is so shiny and pretty and just beautiful, but I love the fact that the other one has a lot of colors on it. I prefer the font for this one. I like the fact that it's black and white on the spine, and like the back is black. Also, it does have a really pretty undercover. There's like 4 or 5 different ones. There's one that's like a circus tent, and then there's other ones as well that I can't think of right now. I have the dress though, obviously. I prefer the UK edition for this one, I think. I don't know, I'm really torn. I can't pick for this one. I think I prefer the UK edition though, because I like how gold and shiny it is, and I like the font. But that being said, I like the font on the US one as well, and I like the fact that it has so many colors, so 50-50. So I still have a bunch of UK covers saved on my computer, and I could go on and on and on comparing them, but I'm going to stop there so then this video isn't forever long. So I will do another edition of this video probably very soon since I have so many to talk about. I really like these videos. Let me know if you guys do too, because I don't know, if you don't, like, I'll still do them, but at least I know that you don't like them. But yeah, so let me know what your favorite, like which ones you preferred for all of these. Let me know if you generally prefer UK covers or US covers, and yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!